Good afternoon from Yummy B, T, E. Wishing you all well. Sending loads of love to you as usual and hoping your day is going to go the best it possibly can. Uncle Ray. Only messing about. Sending loads of love to you all as usual. Now, many of you have been messaging me asking for a response on Uncle Ray Hill's video this morning. So I've just had a look at it, right, in the last couple of hours. I'm going to try and break it down to what I think he means, because some of you are calling on a couple of bits that sound a bit questionable and that kind of stuff, right? Well, I'll break it down like this, first of all. What Uncle Ray is saying is, when Uncle Yummy was coming up doing that on his lives, he thought, when he first was watching me, that he can't really have a row, he's not really that strong, and da-da-da-da-da, or maybe Uncle Yummy's just piss-assing about, and that kind of stuff, and he bumps into someone, a geezer called Dave, and Dave says, no, Uncle Yummy was one of the greatest lifters of all time. What do we know? If you followed my story for quite some time, you will know that I hold a gold badge at powerlifting in the 75 kilo bracket, which is very difficult to get, right? Especially on a prison diet in the old days, which would have been bread and water for a man like me, because I wasn't really looking after myself. So to get a gold badge is quite a good thing for people to give me a claim for, because they understand that it's very, very hard for a man of my weight to have been lifting the kind of weights and that kind of stuff that I was doing. But powerlifting wasn't my only thing, just to remember, stand corrected on that. Some people football as well. I was more into actual circuits, as there's people who are coming up in the comments that, say that I was doing 1,000 rep circuits in a short space of time. So look, the reality is that I was a bit of a lunatic. We know that already. We knew that I didn't look after myself, that I hardly nutritionalized my body that well compared to the real fanatics and health lifters, runners, and that kind of stuff that I came across in the category A system. But all of them seemed to hold me in high regarding my sporting and physical abilities. For mostly all kind of things, basketball, flying through the air, stepping over the badminton there, the sprinting, the explosive kind of stuff, the jumps where I hang in the air for long. But the lifting, the behaviours that we talked about there before. I used to go on a football pitch that I run into the gym and throw 200 kilo while the weightlifters were lifting, big 16, 17 stone men that I would lift and take the bath, and everybody go, no, Yummy, you haven't warmed up and all that. And then I'll sit on the floor with no wraps or no belt and squat 200 kilo, mate, at 70 kilo. I'm not giving myself a boost off this, but it's not nothing that we don't know if you've followed me for a long period of time, right? What else did he mean in the video? So a man was in Wandsworth for me on my last lap, probably, even though I don't really remember this. The best way of explaining it is the man gives me, great big ups for being a great lifter and a supreme athlete, and having an accident of being paralyzed, never to walk or use my hands again, after a terrible self-destructive accident that many of you know about, that followed me for a long time, that I wasn't meant to get back up. And I did, because we knew that those years and years of institutional sporting muscle mass, or the spirit inside, got me back up. It doesn't mean that I'm still not hurt today because of those injuries. Now, look, Uncle Ray talks about, sometimes he words things in a way that, a couple of you, Joe Kennedy, rightly so, Joe, I don't put you down for that, my boy. You messaged me and you said, yeah, but Yummy, he's saying you went into men's cells and all that kind of stuff. So he's half bigging you up and half mugging you off. That's what you're basically asking me. 8 of you, to be precise, right? So if I say what I think he means is that whoever was there and whoever that Dave is, I might have an idea. I'm not too sure, right? I haven't asked. He's saying there's another side to him, that he's also a dog, and he's a bit of a bad man, and he's not a nice man, and he could go in and take things and no one could say nothing to him. He was very intimidating with his mouth, and he's very, very strong and all that. Yeah, I get all that. So would that have been before the injuries or after the injuries? Because I don't know if I'd have been able to do it after the injuries. But it could be that it's nothing that I haven't hid from you before with my behaviour in prison, with robbing people, drug dealers, taking liberties, not paying people. That was a feature, that's a main feature of my story of running around for 40 years in those institutions. I always accept that my behaviour on the outside wasn't really the best, if you get what I mean. Many regrets for that. But like I always say, I've got no regrets for my behaviour in the jungle. And it might have been that what we find with that life, when people say, I bumped into him, I saw him, and so you could get different opinions from 1,000 people. Like only in the long-term jails where people see loads of you for a long period of time are they the best at judging your character, because they see you up, down, how you held yourself, what did you do by way of action, some of the good bits, some of the bad bits, how did you come through and stand in the survival sense during a long period of time witnessed by a lot of people. Now, you can meet people over the years in prison that you bumped into once. There were times when I was vulnerable on drugs and not quite ready and not physically supreme. And, people say, yeah, but he looks a bit weaker when I saw him. I saw him one time, he was on the wing with me. How long was you on the wing with me? About 5 days. Yeah, probably happened. I looked weak that day. Many of us have got caught where different people see different versions of us and say, well, it didn't seem like they're saying like them lot and all that. Because what I saw, all right, no allowances. We were vulnerable, we were insecure, we were addicts, we were sufferers, and the worst is the only people that could beat us was ourselves in reality. That we were quite sad, traumatized figures that ruined a lot of people's life and couldn't really live with our own selves. It don't matter how much attention, like we, being on TV and this one says all these good things about you and you're good at this sport and good at that and you can even you're good with your hands and you can fly through the air like Superman. When you get those down days, you forget all the good things that people say about you. And you believe that you're not all that at all and that you suffer poor self-esteem and it's hard to be living with ourselves. And a lot of us resonate with being normal human beings and being far from perfect, yeah. And the bad thing, obviously, with being an addict. But I've also seen people that are not addicts, that can't produce the goods every day. Yeah. So when you're an addict, it comes because you've got to deal with the cycle of change. When you're coming off things, you don't quite feel yourself. You're not going to be at your best, but no excuses. There will be days when it didn't go well for me and it didn't go well for many others as well. And they might not have even touched drugs themselves. So I don't draw a parallel with that. What I do stand by is that the jailhouse behaviour means nothing. I've got no regrets whatsoever. Like I was going to say, it could be that a man gave me a job to do. And I might have been thinking, hold on, I don't really want to beat him up and stab him or whatever I was doing at that time. So I'll take it another way and a couple of ounces of puff. I can't remember that particular story, to be honest. Yeah. Whether it was explained in the right way is another matter. But I'm not going to pour scorn on Uncle Ray, because Uncle Ray, as we know, with a lot of us as well, when stories are related to us, it depends how we take what's being said. And then when someone says something, how we put it across into actually what they mean without actually asking the person themselves, well, in what context do you mean? Was he given a job to do? A hit? Was it a robbery? Did he? But then Uncle Ray says, which again, I think answers the question. What Uncle Ray really is saying is doing all them scummy bad things, if I did them, I still come out, they know it's me, and they really never said nothing to me. Yeah, so I never knew a man that could get by on just mouth alone, mind you. And OOG Taffy, maybe know that you're going to need more than the gift of the gab if you're doing terrible things in those places, because you're surrounded by likewise people. And I can't remember taking advantage of vulnerable people and taking liberties in that way. But I would say that I was an absolute piss-taking, liberty-taking little bastard. There's no getting away from that, because if I don't get my own way, the way that I wanted it on the outside, when you're doing time on the inside, you get no visits, no money, nothing, and you don't care about living or dying, really. The one route you look for is the same thing that you was looking for on the out. That why does it stop? Because you're in prison. The baddest thing of all is doing the bad things to people on the outside. Not so much the inside, because most people that have bad things happen to them in prison, including me and including you, You were the ones that done the bad stuff to people on the outside that were weaker, vulnerable targets. You've got to be honest about this. When you're doing robberies, you're still taking liberties because you're coming on a, yeah, I'm taking it off you, and you've got the advantage of being the aggressor and catching people off guard and all that. Maybe killing them, maybe beating them, maybe frightening them, maybe scaring them. It don't really matter which way you did it. You did what you had to do to get the money that you wanted at that time, and taking no check as you were doing it. I say, many will agree and many won't. They say the moral code of the jail is you don't do it to your own and all that in jail and all that. But hold on a minute. What moral code? What moral code? In later life, we understand that it's an absolute load of nonsense, that many people go to jail, see rapists on the wing, child molesters, see people that beat up women and all, and nobody does nothing to them. Them moral codes went a long, long time ago, mate. It's not the same. It doesn't really matter no more. As far as I'm concerned, and the way that I saw things, it's more dangerous to take it to a villain rather than an outside vulnerable member of the public who lives a law-abiding life every day. So I stand by what I talk about with the prison system, is that you have to have some serious bottle. Uncle Ray's right. To be able, it's not phrased in the way it should, so I'm only answering that little small bit there, but it's more dangerous to do it to people that are like yourself and ourselves, who are used to doing it to other people, but not having it happen to them, but yet it's happened to me and it doesn't feel that good. But hey, the rules of what? The jungle. That you can do whatever you want to people that are innocent and vulnerable and blah, 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 and do it, and where you're the winner all the time. But when it happens to you and you feel like a victim and you feel like you're being violated, you really want to go to your bed and cry. So that's the best way of answering that, coming up in a minute. The Stephen French fight inside the Kentucky restaurant, all right?